I'd like to welcome everyone to the February 11th, 2014 Mount Olive Council meeting. I would ask everybody please to stand for the Pledge of Allegiance, and please remain standing for a moment of silence for our men and women in the military. I
pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Ms. Lashway, can you read the Open Public Meeting Act?
According to the Open Public Meetings Act, adequate notice of this meeting has been given to the Daily Record. Notice has been posted in the Municipal Building, 204 Flanders Drakestown Road, Bud Lake, New Jersey, and notices were sent to those requesting the same.
Thank you. Roll call, please.
Mr. Amianda?
Here.
Mr. Ferrante?
Here.
Mrs. Leybow?
Here.
Mr. Perkins?
Here.
Mr. Roman?
Here.
Mr. Mania? Mr. Nicastro?
Here. Please note Mr. Mania is away for the meeting. We're going to go a little out of order right now. We have a civilian presentation that Lieutenant Austenberg is going to present. We're going to move that over to here now, if you would come up, please. Over to the podium.
I'd like to thank you for having us first, because I'm really not looking forward to sitting through any budget meetings, so we do appreciate that, as much as I like everybody here. It's important, I think, that we recognize a few people here tonight, and we don't do this often enough, but every once in a while, we get called to our attention some acts that were done by our public that we feel are worthy of recognition. So tonight we're going to give out two separate awards. First one, if I could have Mr. Anthony Smora please rise or join me at the podium here, whatever you're more comfortable with. You're not going to be asked to speak. On November 16th at 11:30 a.m., Mount Olive Police Communication Center received a call from Mr. Anthony Smora. Mr. Smora advised that he picked up an elderly male from his Winding Hill Drive neighborhood who appeared disoriented. Mr. Smora would further advise that the elderly male did not know his name or where he resides. Officer Jadu was dispatched to the call along with Sergeant Mace, and while responding, Officer Jadu requested dispatch to check with Paragon Village to see if they were missing a male from that housing facility. As the officers arrived on Winding Hill Drive, dispatch advised the elderly male did in fact live in Paragon Village. The dispatcher had just received a 911 call from the housing facility to report that the elderly male had gone missing. Mr. Smora had already picked up the elderly male in his vehicle and agreed to drive him back to Paragon Village, with the officers following behind. Once at Paragon, the elderly male was turned over to the staff's care. Sergeant Mace then spoke with Mr. Smora and advised that while he was leaving his home, he observed the male having difficulty walking. When he was asked his name and where he lived, the male was not sure. Mr. Smora drove the male around in his personal vehicle in hopes that he could find the man's residence. He contacted the police when he was unsuccessful, and even after the police arrived, he continued to assist by driving the male back home in his vehicle. The elderly male had wandered off well over a mile from his home and was fortunate to have run into Mr. Smora. Now, we're all familiar with similar stories that have turned out with less fortunate endings. Mr. Smora took the time out of his busy day and went above and beyond what is expected from a citizen, and as a result, he may have saved the life of this stranger. He is hereby awarded the Mount Olive Police Civilian Service Award. Now, I think probably 20 years ago or so, when I first started out, we had a similar incident where a man had walked off and ended up in the bog of Bud Lake, and he was not so fortunate. So a simple act like that really could have saved this gentleman's life. The next incident occurred on January 10th at 4:18 p.m., when again the Mount Olive Police Communication Center received a 911 call reporting a possible male who had fallen through the ice in Bud Lake, in the area of the former Bud Lake Boathouse restaurant. Again, Sergeant Mace was in the area when the call came in, was first to arrive at the scene. Now, Sergeant Mace could not be here either. He took off to go to Myrtle Beach, so we're all a little jealous of that, but he wishes he could have been here. Upon his arrival, Sir Mace observed a woman wrapping up what appeared to be a long orange rope. She was standing next to a red Dodge pickup truck. She advised the sergeant that the subject was out of the water and had pointed to him. Sergeant Mace looked to the right and observed the male victim attempting to remove his overalls. Mace could see that the male was wet up to his waist, and Sergeant Mace exited his patrol car to assist him. The gentleman had told Officer Mace that he was walking behind the boathouse on the ice to see if it was safe. He was out about 75 to 100 feet when he realized the ice was not frozen enough. As he turned to go back to the shore, he fell through the ice and into the water. He was unable to get out of the water on his own and began to yell for assistance. The male advised Mace that he was able to get out of the water when a man and woman threw him an extension cord and pulled him back onto the ice and back to shore. He had a small cut that was bleeding on his left hand due to the sharp ice, but was otherwise okay. Fire personnel arrived on scene, but the victim did not wish to seek any further treatment or medical assistance. The ambulance would eventually be canceled to respond to another emergency. The victim then left the area. In the time that it took Sergeant Mace to assist the male, Mace observed that the red pickup truck had left, as well as the female. Mace then responded to the caller's residence. The female who answered the door, Mrs. Marie Giuliani, would you, I'm sorry, I should have had you come up as well, and your daughter, please. Mrs. Giuliani was the same female that was observed with the orange extension cord upon his arrival. Sergeant Mace asked her what had taken place. She advised that she heard someone yelling for help on the lake. She turned to her 12-year-old daughter, Marissa, and advised her to call 911. She then grabbed a long, heavy-duty extension cord and ran out of the residence to the shoreline. While at the shoreline, a red pickup pulled up to her and asked if she needed help. She accepted, and the male exited the vehicle and threw the cord out to the victim. Together, they pulled the victim out of the water and back to shore. Utilizing the license plate on the pickup, Mace was able to identify the male who assisted Mrs. Giuliani as Mr. Steven Savas. Unfortunately, Mr. Savas could not be here tonight. The combined efforts of Marie, Marissa, and Steven culminated with the quick response and resolution to the incident at hand. Marie went above and beyond what is expected of her and could have simply called 911. Instead, she took swift action and advised her 12-year-old daughter to make the call. Marissa did an excellent job contacting the police and relaying the important information. Lastly, Steven noticed something was not right as he drove by and took the time to stop and ask Marie if she needed help. Together, these three individuals are credited with saving the victim's life. Marie Giuliani, Marissa Colangelo, and Steven Savas are hereby awarded the Mount Olive Police Department Civilian Service Award. While we're on the budget hearing, then I'd like to put in for several long orange extension cords to go in every patrol car. That's all right. Thank you very much for your time. I appreciate it.
Thanks, Craig.
Thank you.
I don't see a copy of those
They were?
statements in our packet.
The awards?
Yeah. Is there an outline? Craig, could you send us a copy of those awards? Because I don't have anything here.
Yes.
Yeah,
That's-
thank you.
Yeah, if you could email it, great.
Thank you.
Thank you. Guess we're on to budget discussions. Clerk Lisa is up first, and that is on section 7, if you're looking.
I'm going to just stay right here if it's okay.
Sure, chair.
There's some slight increases in my budget from last year. One is to update the code book and finally try and get chapter 245 in there, which is our vehicle and traffic chapter. And the Highlands Preservation Ordinance is a huge ordinance, so we need to budget for that. And I put in some extra money so that Susan can start taking the classes for certified clerk. Other than that, everything else is pretty much the same. Another one, it's not listed, but is council, and council is mixed in with mayor. It's section 5. League of Municipalities dues went up. Civil advertising, I'm just budgeting for what we expect. Trainings and conferences is the same as last year. Last one is the Ethics Board. board, and I don't know what number it is, but $500. The ethics board hasn't met in probably 3 or 4 years, but I always put $500 in there in case there's need for the attorney's services.
Is the ethics board fully
There's vacancy.
those vacancies?
What party?
Not sure.
Okay. Yeah,
I
I
don't
don't.
think it's Republican, though.
Yeah, I think it's Democrat. Who was the last one who
So
left?
I think it's Democrat or unaffiliated.
Yeah.
I believe we do have 3 Republicans on there now.
Yes, Ms.
Lisa, is there anything that you were hoping to have added to your budget that did not get included? Any?
No?
So everything that you needed was addressed?
Yes.
Good job. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions? Okay, that was easy. Moving on to health. That's section 18 in case you...
Good evening,
Good
ladies and
evening.
gentlemen. And thank you for giving us the opportunity to come before you. Our budgets for years have pretty much, and over the years, have remained pretty stable, pretty steady, largely due to the infusion of additional monies from interlocal service agreements that we have. I know tonight you'll be voting on one of the last ones to insert into the this year's budget from Mount Arlington, which would bring us to the total for this year of about $173,000 of interlocal service agreements, coupled with the interlocal service agreement we have with Byram for animal control. So I think we're in pretty good shape in terms of a revenue stream from our shared service contracts. The overall health budget is stable, stayed the same. The net number to Mount Olive, when all said and done, was $32.97. It's been in my head for the past 3 or 4 years now in terms of that amount, because it's pretty much stayed the same. We have some, just a little bit of shifting of dollars and so on in the budget for some of the things that we need to get, and we need to maintain as part of our compliance and our overall certification with the state. We're in the last leg. There are 2 things that we need to do yet, and then we'll be completed in terms of our state audit, and we should be in really good shape at that point. So, are there any questions with the public health budget?
Any questions?
I have the same question. Is everything that you needed included in? Was there anything that you were hoping to get that was not included in, or?
Everything, Mrs. Slaybaugh, is in there that we had requested pretty much. Okay, not that's anything superfluous. We try and run a very lean budget and tight. So yes, everything that we absolutely need is in there.
As I know from being on the chair of the Board of Health for 3 years, I do know that's how you run the operation, which is greatly appreciated, and always looking and thinking outside of the box and bringing in shared services, which is, I think you probably lead the whole township in that respect.
Well,
Right?
Mr. Roman?
I noticed for the maintenance of motor vehicles, the budget request is $200. How are you keeping it that low, just for car washes?
that is all taken out of a general line item in the overall budget as far as car.
So your maintenance of your vehicles is not on the charge of your
No,
department?
no, it's charged to the overall township budget.
Mr. Canning?
Yeah, I just wanted to keep council apprised that the bus is a serious concern, the seniors bus. Currently, we have a hearing for our CDBG at the county level on March 7th. I'll be presenting to the township of Mount Olive. If we're not to be successful in that plan, council should be expecting in the 2015 budget a request for a replacement for that senior bus. But right now, we're going to try to go to the grant route and see if we can either augment or supplement that.
I do have a capital request in there for a bus replacement. I think we submitted that, as well as replacement of 2 vehicles that we purchased from the county at a very nominal cost, but they have well over 140,000 miles on them each. So we're keeping them together with Band-Aids and strings and, you know, this kind of stuff, Teflon tape and whatnot. So, you know, but they are tired, and they probably, at some point in time, need to be replaced unless we can find something
Yeah.
more equitable.
And, Mr. Sean, in anticipation of capital requests for those vehicles, is it possible that we could have a listing of what is currently wrong or needs to be done on those vehicles that we're looking to be replaced? You know, because I think just having the age and mileage is not sufficient information for us.
I can give you a complete rundown of health if you want. Matter of fact, I was greeting Councilman Perkins before, your upcoming monthly reports should have real-time your vehicles, mileage costs, and if you want, it'll give you the top 5 offenders for every department if you want, and we can give you a complete history on request. Thank you.
Just as a matter of note, on the vehicles, the leases that we have for the senior services work well. I mean, we've had very little, if any, issues with them. The seniors are happy with them. They're a lot more comfortable to ride in. You know, the lease situation has worked out pretty well with us, so I have to say. And cost-effective in terms of repairs and maintenance that's being done. So, and as far as the senior budget is concerned, there's no change to that budget either. So if anybody has any questions.
Ms. Lavelle?
Frank, which vehicles are you using for the seniors now?
Well, currently we have the bus, which needs to obviously be
Right.
replaced. We have the van, and then we have 2 Hyundai that we have under lease agreement that, you know, have been working out very well for
Yeah.
us.
Good, very good.
Mr. Perkins?
Thank you, Mr. Vice President. Frank, 2 things. One is, you may not have the answer tonight. Last year, under contractual services, which typically we have the $7,200, which goes to the seniors.
Yes.
Last year, I'm seeing that we had charges of $9,115.71. And get a chance, let me know what the difference, where the $2,000
I can
came
figure out
from.
what the difference is, why it was from that. Yeah, sure, we'll take a look at
Just,
that.
you know.
I don't, off the top of my head, I couldn't.
I know, that's okay.
Yeah.
And then the money for the TNR that we're going to reimburse them at, where is that showing up?
That
in the
is
budget?
in the animal control
Animal
budget,
control.
and I'll
Is it just
defer
there?
to Frank next, and we can go through that if you wish. Any other questions on health or the seniors?
Mr. Mayor?
Frank, I would be remiss if I didn't comment in terms of the state of the health department currently. Sean and I were talking about it at dinner this evening, and we're extremely pleased with the way that the office is functioning currently, and I just wanted to pass that along to you.
Well, thank you very much, Mayor, and I too am very pleased with the way the situation is going and running. Certain employees that have been, you know, moved around have demonstrated an enthusiasm that they've injected into the department, and basically some life that's been brought in. And you know, I think moving forward now, you know, we have a lot of exciting things that we'll look forward to do, especially for seniors. I can't wait to get together and, you know, roll up my sleeves and figure out what we're going to do for Senior Month, the month of May. And then, of course, the picnic is always great, too. So, you know, and I invite everybody to help come. And, you know, it's really a great time. They do have a wonderful time. So thank you, Mayor, for your vote of confidence, and I appreciate that. So
Good effort on your part.
thank you.
Excellent.
Without further ado, Frank Nelson,
It's the Franks.
the Franks. Basically, well, let me lead in, Frankie. Okay?
I don't know how to do this.
Basically, the budget is, there's a few things that we had added. One thing, we sent Frank to school to become a chemically, what is it called, Frank? Chemically injected he's learned how to use the use of a tranquilizer.
Remote chemical immobilization.
Right,
On animals,
immobilization.
On animals.
Right. It's tongue tire, but anyway, that can read better. And one of the reasons we had done that was there was a situation that occurred with 2 pit bulls in one pit bull, was it? In a home where the police, you know, make a long story short, had how to dispose of the animal, where we could have sent somebody in that was qualified in the use of these chemical immobilization and tranquilizer, and be able to tranquilize the animal and remove it safely. So I know I had gotten together with a couple of the detectives. We were able to find enough money in our budget to send Frank to be trained. Now we just have to get the equipment, which is probably in the neighborhood of about $400, $500, $600. We're just not quite sure what tranquilizer gun we want to get.
You got that included in your budget?
It's in the overall budget, yeah. TNR money is in the budget. There is a line item there. We put in $7,500. Overall, it seems to be working well. Frank has pretty much created a détente or status quo there. We're still very earnestly going, trying to get the animals revaccinated. They've been working with us, albeit it's pretty cold out right now. They're doing the best they can, and in between the snowdrops and the snowstorms and so on. So I'm sure probably when the springtime comes, it'll probably be stepped up. But I don't know in terms of where we are, Frank, with that, and the animals that still need to be revaccinated. I think you have a report that you made, the most current one, and I don't know, Mr. Perkins,
21?
I think the last thing
You should have a copy
received
of
in
this.
January, you had received a copy of it as board chairman.
Last year, TNR had a little setback. I hit him pretty hard with a hoarding case. It was all cats. And they were able to help me out with that, and in doing so, probably saved the town a good deal of money. And all the cats were well taken care of at that point. They took on all the responsibility of the vet care that they needed because the cats were in pretty bad shape. And in doing so, they filled up all their spaces for fostering. So they didn't have any room even to hold the cat temporarily to do the booster vaccinations and everything else like that. Since then, they've gotten back on track, and they've been going full effort.
There's only 5 left from the hoarding case. They only have to find
That's it.
homes for 5 more.
That's good.
Yeah.
Because
And-
there was probably about 40 of them at the end.
Yeah, and those ones that are left, they had more critical health issues, and so they needed to be watched and medicated, and now they're ready to go. So that was really good. Yeah, it was a long.
Some of those cats needed some pretty intensive care.
Yeah.
Yeah. So as I was saying, they're back on track now. They're going full bore as much as they can. The weather's been a big setback. It's been really cold. It's hard to trap when it's really cold because you have to stay on that trap. You can't leave them in there for too long where they'll suffer the effects of the cold.
Exactly.
And then, of course, with the snow, that's a pretty obvious setback there.
Yeah, one of their big concerns right now, I'm sorry, Mr. Their big concern right now is worrying about the one apartment complex, which is at 10th.
Eagle Rock?
Eagle Rock, yeah.
Yes.
They just haven't wanted to do TNR.
I have talked to them. I was able to talk to them at least once, and I wasn't able to get an answer. I'm going to try again, see if I can set up an actual face-to-face meeting.
Yeah. If there's something we could do, because last year, a lot of the kittens what happened was some of the residents who live there had seen kittens, and they brought them in, and then they called TNR.
Right.
And it really filled them up, and it was cats that were running around loose there that residents brought in
Right.
and then relinquished to TNR. And if they just did the TNR there, then we wouldn't have the kittens.
Right.
And that's why it's like really problematic, is why won't they just, because all the other apartments, it's worked great. There's like nothing coming in from anybody else.
Right. From what I understand, Eagle Rock's position was that they didn't want to give the go-ahead for TNR because they didn't want to send a mixed message to their residents because they don't allow pets in Eagle Rock.
Yeah.
So.
But meanwhile, there's cats all over the place. So it's like, they think they had something like 22, 23 kittens that came from that development last year.
It could be as simple as they don't know the benefits that could be realized from allowing their residents to have pets in the first place, which would be a topic I might touch on. But like I said, I'm hoping to have a meeting with them yet and convince them.
Yeah. That would be great. Thank you.
Any
Doing
other
a great job,
questions?
Frank.
Thank you.
Frank, I noticed you have $7,000 for maintenance and motor vehicles. What's the breakdown on that? And How many vehicles?
I don't have a breakdown. I only have the one vehicle. If it goes down, then, I'm not going anywhere. It's hard to transport animals when you don't have a truck.
Sean
So,
or Sherry, do we know why it's $7,000 is in error?
Yeah, I think that some of that's in reserve. Our long-term goal is more towards one of the auction cars we got from the county. We'd like to get a backup part-time ACO vehicle, and it's more geared towards outfitting that with some cages and some equipment. The overall fleet budget is supposed to be coming out of the fleet line item, and that's managed by each of the departments. This item is more towards outfitting not just Frank's vehicle, but also a backup vehicle, because I would like to get to the point where we have the part-timers covered, where on certain weekends Frank would be able to take that vehicle home, where he can respond immediately instead of having to come here in inclement weather.
One of the things on that, just to clarify, I believe motor fuel is charged to that budget. In
Gasoline.
terms of, right, gasoline, in terms of,
Gasoline's on that line?
yeah.
Okay.
I believe that's the only thing we charge.
I think one of the things, Alex, is we're trying to keep it as independent as we can. And obviously, you never have enough budgeted for, so this is kind of like an offsetting measure in terms of a line item in the animal control budget. Because there are nighttime and weekends where the ACO, the part-time guys that are on call have to go out and, they'll use the gas and then they have to load up. So it's kind of like an offsetting revenue contributing towards the motor fuel.
And do you have enough supplies for the dog park? And are we on now on a specific schedule for filling that up?
not a specific schedule, but it's already in the budget for buying those bags.
Have enough dog bags.
Yeah,
Okay.
And
we should be
I'll
good.
guarantee you we'll have enough come the springtime.
How do we anticipate the dog park opening up? Or I guess that would be a question for buildings and grounds.
Yeah, buildings
Yeah,
and grounds is
right now it's
they're the ones that closed it.
kind of cold up there.
The entire park is closed based upon the conditions of the roadway. And until the weather gets above 32 degrees and the roadway conditions can improve throughout the township, the park in its entirety will remain closed.
We order those bags from Florida, and it usually takes, first of all, they order it, and then we wait a couple of weeks, then you call the guy, did you send the order? He says, oh yeah, I sent it, but it always gets sent to somebody else, so then he's got to resend it. I don't know what address he has, but it's kind of comical at times when we go through trying to get the bags. But eventually we get them, so I think we're in good shape, at least until we start in the springtime.
All right, thank you very much.
I had sent a PDF file to Sean about the Washington Township. They charge for their dog park. It's I forget now. Do you remember? $10 for resident, $15 for non-residents, and to get the license, and they have to certify their dog is licensed and has all their shots. And Sean and I were just briefly talking about it 2 weeks. Everybody's been so busy; it's kind of hard to give it more thought. But I went through the website, and I thought it was really interesting how they had it set up. And like we were talking about the enforcement, like how do you actually enforcement? But we were thinking about maybe if there was an electronic pass to unlock the gate kind of a deal, because I understand we have a lot of people from out of our area that use our park. So I thought if Washington is able to, I'll send you what I sent
Yeah,
to
please
Sean.
do.
We can take a look at it and then speak with Mr. Canning about it.
Yeah, 'cause I was thinking if we
It
did-
sounds to me like there's going to be some kind of capital investment to the park in that regard.
Yeah, it didn't seem like there would, but it'd be interesting to find out how they're
It may not
doing
be
it.
expensive at all, but it's just a matter of logistics
That's-
in terms of what.
That's what we were saying,
I
like,
would have a problem with anything that would restrict the access to the dog park, whether it be resident or non-resident. I mean, I think the dog park's been a tremendous success, and anything that would end up impeding that success, I would definitely be
Yeah.
wholeheartedly opposed to it.
Plus,
Yeah.
it's Green Acres. I'm not sure that you could even go there if you wanted to.
well, the question is, I know for the, my thoughts were that with the sporting organizations, there is a cost to maintain the fields, and if we're maintaining the dog park, I would think it might be along those same lines. And that's what the fee would be, is for maintenance. So that's, I don't know, that's where we're just thinking, take a look at it and see if it's a possibility.
I agree with Alex. I think it's
Yeah.
overbroad. I think we want to encourage people to use the dog park, not discourage. I can't imagine that there's a large fee that's associated with maintenance of the dog park.
I agree, our own residents, but I also know that from speaking from other towns, we're like one of the parks that surrounding residents come to, so I think we have a lot more out of the air. But I just figure we'll look at it, see what it entails. If it's not a good thing, we
It's a
don't
great
do it.
social gathering piece.
I'm
It
not
is,
in
yeah, it's
favor.
great.
I mean, then you talk about maybe putting the same type of system at the front of Turkey Brook Park and
No.
charging people who want to use
No, no.
fields from out of
Yeah,
town. I mean,
I-
it's just,
Yeah.
it's way overreaching.
All right, well, we'll just figure, got to throw these things out there and see where it goes.
Any other questions for them while we're?
And just one other comment, as how the weather's been, we tried to hold our rabies clinic on the 21st or so of January, and that got snowed out. Then it got so cold that we had to try and move it back. We finally bottom line is, we decided not to charge a late fee, at least till the first half of February, so that we could get the licenses in, and we didn't want to penalize anybody because we couldn't get the rabies clinic on the proper time for them to fall within the law. So we made a command decision to start. We have started as of today, though, but we gave them a week's grace to get their licenses in. So
Frank, was there any capital request at all for animal control or anything?
for animal control,
Or-
there was none. The only
How-
capital
how-
request that I made was the one on for the vehicles, but
Okay, just make,
and the bus for the seniors.
okay. That's it then, I guess. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Jill, Recreation, section 32, if you're looking for that.
All right, well, recreation is recreating. We have lots going on. So far, this far into the year, we already have 33 new programs. We have 9 new events that we've planned. We have just entered into an agreement with an online adult ed provider to be able to do instructor-led video online classes. That will open up 400 possible classes to our residents to be able to access at a very reasonable cost. They can take anything from digital photography to different kinds of accounting classes. It's grant writing, creating web pages, Photoshop, speed Spanish, all kinds of stuff. We also have 8 new summer camps planned. We also have several new parent and child programs. We have edible art workshops. We've got a comic book art workshop program going on. We are also starting a farmers market, and this program is going to run Saturdays from May 10th through the middle of October here in the municipal building parking lot for 4 hours on Saturday mornings. And so we're excited to be able to work on this effort with area farms and providers. And I think it should be a great partnering with the health department to be able to provide a healthy alternative for foods. We already have the exercise and fun things to do as part of the Shaping New Jersey initiative out of the health department's state division. So we're running full tilt on that. We had Restaurant Week. I hope all of you went to restaurants at the last week of January. I did. And then we have several things coming up. We have Cabin Fever Reliever a week from Saturday. We have our 5K is the Do or Die Fun Run. One thing we discovered in this past year was that our market really is families and fun as opposed to the truly competitive athlete. So rather than doing a timed race for 5 and 10K, we are doing a color run. For those who don't know what a color run is, it's a fun run or walk where every half mile there are color stations where volunteers throw colored cornstarch powder at you, and you should be wearing white, so you come back all tie-dyed and have a tremendous party when all is said and done when that's accomplished. It's been very popular across the country, so we thought that'd be a fun addition to what we're offering for this year. Of course, we're bringing back all the favorites, the Mud Run. We are as far as I know, the only department that offers a children's component for the Mud Run as well. We'll be adding a bike and hike trail stomp in the fall, and that will be over in the ITC area, kind of picking up piece of what used to be the triathlon grounds. And it can either be walked or mountain biked. But again, we haven't really addressed mountain bikes. We have our Tour de Mount Olive for road bikes, but now we'll be able to incorporate more of a hiking and mountain bike component to what we're doing. I was here not too long ago to talk about the water skiing lessons at Bud Lake Beach, which we will continue with, and we're also working with someone to offer the stand-up paddleboard workshops, We'll have at least 3 workshops during the course of the summer, and we're hoping to add to the regatta some version of a stand-up paddleboard fun race. The distance is yet to be determined, but anybody who's been in the workshops will be gearing themselves towards competing in that fun event as well. And we have a number of trips, as always, and we're partnering with all the area towns to be able to offer all kinds of trips that have been very successful in the past, including the Monster Jam that's this Saturday at the IZOD. Jefferson Township is coordinating that, but we're helping them promote that because Sean from Highview Farms, his truck will be in that show at the IZOD Center. Basically, we've added someone to our department to really help us with our graphic design and marketing and reaching out and developing partnerships with our area businesses. So that's moving along quite well. And we also have a sports ombudsman who is helping us work with the various sports groups to get their needs taken care of. To be able to offer them some more coaches training, to be able to help them get the concussion training that they need, and to be on top of all the policies and things that we have to be able to protect them and protect our kids. So those are the highlights. What kinds of questions do you have for me about recreation?
So the 5K is not timed this year.
It's not time. Well, but there'll be clocks up so you can self-time, but it's really more for fun and how colorful you can be when you return.
Is there a non-colored run path you can go?
Not on the course we will have marked. You can run inside the park if you'd like to avoid those stations.
For you, Alex, it's right down the middle of Route 46. Good luck.
I did see some ideas today on the internet for a pillow fight run, for a stoplight run, where depending on whether your attitude is stop, cautious, or green, depends what you get to wear. A couple of different interesting ideas. Not sure we're ready to incorporate those yet, but we're always looking.
Red or blue are the 2 colors. I can't see what color my face is by the time I get to that mark. I'm going to be beet red or blue.
Are you talking about at the start of the race or?
Walking the mile was bad.
Do you have any progress on the Mount Playmore or any update?
Recreation's portion in the process is really the connecting with volunteers, doing some fundraising, doing the press releases and such. I think that's probably a Sean type question is where we are.
It's finished, Alex. Up there.
Just under the
Haven't been
snow.
allowed in.
Oh, I forgot it snowed.
It's under the snow.
I understand the fundraising aspect is behind.
Well, the fundraising was really a mechanism to involve the community. So where we had thought the community would jump in with both feet and then some on like getting the engraved pickets, which we certainly have the capacity to have 400 pickets engraved. And at this point, we have maybe 50 people have signed up in that category. And I expect each one of you to get an engraved picket, by the way. The information's on our website, and we can help you with that. So that we really thought that we would see more community involvement through the PTAs and other kinds of service groups. The Kiwanis did a nice job with the Santa breakfast and presented with a check for $400 towards the playground.
500.
Oh, 500? I'm sorry. 400 was the first number that Richie had told me about, and you're right, it was 500 for the
Yeah,
final
we were
check.
just a little bit they were $85 shy of the 500, so I kicked in the 85 so we could do a bench.
Thank you.
I figured we had to have our name on something, so I said, no, it's got to be 500. I'll send a check for 85.
Right, so the purpose of the fundraising is not to cover the actual cost of the playground. The purpose of the fundraising is to involve the community and to be able to provide for some of the amenities. We have picnic tables, benches, and other kinds of things planned to enhance the whole playground itself. But this particular project is not dependent upon the fundraising.
Sean?
Yeah, I just wanted to touch upon the Mount Playmore. That's been run out of administration. We meet every Monday morning. Jill's component certainly has been a large part of this, has been Mr. Wilbur and PB&G. Currently, where we're at now is in the midst of procurement. One of the resolutions on the agenda tonight is for some equipment. What we're running into right now is not really problematic. It's just making sure that we dot the I's and cross the T's with New Jersey purchasing law. So we're in the midst of procuring the 4x4 posts and the wooden posts and the equipment, and depending on the commodity, whether we have to bid or we have to do quotes. In addition, we have a concrete footing plan, which is just about finished. If the weather ever breaks between now and it gets to be 33 degrees, we will be looking forward to clearing that property and pouring concrete footings. Once that's accomplished, we can pin and start construction tentatively. We're looking at a March 17th to start a construction date. That's, again, we're being somewhat optimistic. We're hoping that maybe this weather actually gives us a break.
Daniel?
At one time, Mount Olive Township held half a marathon. I think they did almost 2 consecutive years, which was way back. And I was wondering if the recreation is able to revisit the idea of having Mount Olive half marathon. It was very interesting. You went to the airport in Flanders, you came back, and it attracted a lot of.
We found last year when we introduced the 10K to the race, which is not anywhere close to a half marathon, we only had about 30 people sign up to do that, a particular event. I think as we do more athletic types of events, we may eventually grow an audience that's interested in that. But right now we are focusing on more of the family friendly. What we've seen a huge increase is where, moms and dads are running with their kids in various things, or right. So that we're seeing more of a family unit who is participating in our events right now rather than the dedicated athlete. But no idea is ever off the table. We store up ideas, and when we think the time is right, we try to roll it out.
Yeah, I thought it was good because the recreation raised some money out of that.
Well, we do use all of our events as a way for businesses to be able to sponsor the activities that Recreation does and receive a whole packet of benefits and exposure, so that all of our events do have quite a bit of sponsorship available and attached to them for raising money to keep the department running.
Anyone else? Colleen?
I just want to ask a question with the ombudsman. Now, does that person, do they meet with the coaches and explain to them what's expected? And
We've had a couple preliminary meetings, kind of introducing what the concept is. An ombudsman is a person who facilitates between parties to make sure that all sides are heard and find an equitable solution, and also is there to really help the sports groups. So that, there've been a couple of times when his expertise has already been utilized. We're planning a sports summit. We were going to try and do it in January. It did not work out. So we're looking for a date probably early April to be able to do one with all the various heads of the sports associations and also with the high school coaching staff.
Colleen, basically it is a liaison between the members of a club and the club. One club and another club, so between baseball and football where a dispute arises, and or a liaison between either an individual or the club and the administration in terms of concerns. Let me give you an example. Let's say that there is a member of the baseball organization who feels that the baseball club is not operating pursuant to their bylaws. He would be the appropriate person to contact and try and form some type of resolution. It's really, for the most part, dispute resolution and or problem solving at his role. And so far, the clubs have all been very receptive. Obviously, he carries a history in terms of the township, and it's worked out very well so far.
it's like in the past when we've received a letter about disputes and we're like,
We had no
So
place to go.
we had no
with it.
place to go, so.
Right. He now is handling, and I can tell you that since he's been in place, I don't think that we've really fielded any of those issues, and he's resolved a number of the issues. And having spoken to the clubs themselves, they're all very happy to have somebody in that position.
Well, I haven't received any of those complaints in probably a year and a half to 2 years. If we do get, and when we did get them, it was sort of like, what do we don't have a mechanism, we're not the people to bring it to, but then we would forward it over and make Jill aware of it, and she would bring it to the proper channels, basically.
If there were proper channels. Now there's a
Well,
proper
no, that's what I'm
channel.
saying. Now that would be the process. So now we have a procedure to follow.
Right.
Sounds good.
How have you found that working from your perspective in terms of your responsibility for?
We end up working together, discussing, what usually the concern comes to me first, and then I refer them to the ombudsman if that's the appropriate channel. Sometimes it's really going back to following the grievance procedure that a club may already have. And usually I give, both the club president and the ombudsman a heads up as to this person has an issue. Could you look into it and let me know when it's been resolved?
Yeah, so that's a good resource for you as well.
Yes, absolutely.
Very good. Excellent.
Good. Anything else?
I just have one last question. And is there anything that you wanted that's not included in the budget? And basically, you're almost like self-sufficient with the
Well, yeah, the
utility.
utility has to be self-sufficient. So my budget is, of course, based on what we hope is going to happen for the year and looking at what the best case scenario. We have found in the past that if we do find the most wonderful thing in the entire world and everybody likes it, I can bring in all kinds of money, but I can't spend it on the other end
Right.
to be able to cover all those costs unless I dream big. So there is that reflection in there of what we think we would like to accomplish. And already some of that has changed in the 5 or 6 months since we were working on this. So it has to be
Right,
flexible.
good.
I mean, recreation has to be flexible.
One last question with the carnival this year. Did you have a new company?
Oh, yes.
It's all
Actually, that
set?
contract was awarded by you guys.
Yeah. That's what I'm
so-
saying. And you're happy with this? And
Yes, well,
yeah.
we went out for RFP for Carnival Company. We met with them, did a walkthrough. They're excited to be working with us. They've made some good suggestions. We're in the process now of developing the RFPs for the additional concessions that go along with having the carnival in place. And then we'll be fully ramped up for all the carnival kinds of things that we need to do.
Cool. Very good.
Thank you. And there's no capital requests or anything right from here?
The only thing I have in my capital, which the utility can have capital,
Oh, okay.
is a shed for storage of our special event equipment up at Turkey Brook Park. And they'll get stuff out of the stone barn, so the guys actually used to put, their equipment in, rather than having all of my stuff in there.
What about your vehicle? How's your van going?
My $5 van? We love my $5 van. It's been sitting in the shop for a while. It hasn't been top priority. Its one unique feature was, I guess there must have been some sort of maybe crack in the insulation on some of the wires. It would get very wet. The locks would automatically lock and unlock and lock
Yeah.
and unlock.
That was interesting at the carnival.
Until I'm assuming that's water caused. It only happens after heavy rains.
Is that a Ford?
No.
I don't remember what
No,
the...
it's a
what-
Caravan.
No, I
It's
don't
a
think it's a
Dodge.
Caravan, I think.
Yeah.
And so right now it's still waiting for Fleet to get to that aspect of things. So the battery died on us when we were doing Candyland over at the library, so that we get a jump start and then over to the Fleet, and it's been sitting there since.
I remember at the carnival, every time we'd go to get something out of the van, it was supposed to be unlocked, and all of a sudden it was locked, and we had to find the keys.
Yes.
But yeah, that was interesting.
But really, for a $5 van, you can't argue.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Alrighty.
Thanks, Jill.
Planning, section 13, in case you're looking for it.
You had to bring the muscle with you,
Brought
huh?
someone with me
Yeah,
tonight.
there you go.
That's not one term normally used for me, is muscle. Bones.
Planning department budget is the same as last year except for one increase request. It has to do with property maintenance of properties that are under foreclosure. We get complaints that they're not maintaining the property. Either the township has to go out, and that's why Scott's here tonight. The township goes out, or we're in the process, I guess we adopted an ordinance that allows us to hire an outside company. So we requested an additional $7,000 to my special projects line item that would cover the cost, and then we would get reimbursed. Do you have the number that we have?
Sure. In Mount Olive Township, since I started in January, we have over 56 documented foreclosure properties. We had over a dozen trouble properties that required our attention as far as maintenance is concerned. Our crews, our equipment had to go out and clean up these properties to make them at least presentable to the neighborhood. We don't see any reduction in these properties for 2014. At least we don't forecast any kind of reduction, as our foreclosures are still pretty high. In fact, there seems to be an uptick in the last couple of months on the notices coming in. We expect that this new ordinance will allow us to assess the $125 maintenance fee on the property for our first call out, and then it's $125 an hour for each hour used to maintain. Where the township won't be reimbursed immediately, the township will be reimbursed later on as the properties are repurchased and that lien that is placed on those properties for that fee is collected.
And that's basically the only increase. We've also discussed increasing Scott's hours, 1 or 2 to 3 days a month, to give him extra time, specifically in the summer, when we do have these kind of issues with property maintenance, more than, zoning issues. And that was an increase to salary and wages, I think, that was put in as well. So that's basically it for us. It's,
All right, so the increase in salary from 13 to 14 is solely because of increased hours?
yes,
Okay, thank
2
you.
to 3 days a month, that's it.
Plus a percentage increase in terms of
The normal.
normal.
Right.
Any other questions?
That's
Any
it.
capital requests, or, I'm sorry?
Can you give us an update in terms of where we stand on the Highlands redevelopment zone?
Actually, Chuck and Jean and I met last Friday afternoon. We are having a joint meeting with the Planning Board, the Environmental Commission, and the Open Space Committee next Thursday to discuss it with them. We're starting the process. Jean is starting the water and sewer capacity review. And, some of the property owners can already go to the DEP because we do have the Highlands redevelopment area designation. So if anybody in that area wants to go and redo their property now, they can go to DEP and get their Highlands exemption. So it's a process started. We did get the grant. We got $57,000. Actually, we got $80-something thousand.
At some point in time, I'd like to discuss with you the bulk standards.
Yes, we're going to look at redoing the zoning ordinance for that zoning for that area.
Yes.
We discussed that last week as well. Okay.
Thanks.
Will you be at the planning board meeting next week? Do you want to join us at that?
If I can make it, I will.
Okay. All right.
If there's no snowstorm.
No, we won't have
Next Thursday? Yeah. So this Thursday, Sunday into Monday, next Thursday.
Is that what they're saying?
Wait,
again? Sunday, too?
It's an off week.
Every-
for
oh,
storms.
okay. It's an
Only
off.
3.
Was there any capital requests at all?
Not this year, but
Okay.
next year we would like to put in for a car because right now Scott is using a Durango that we purchased through Morris County Co-op for $5, I believe, and it's got
Just about 100,000.
miles on it.
That's that
It's
gray
very
one,
rusty,
right?
yeah.
It's a gray one. It's rusty. We also, the old car that we used to use was a 2001 Impala, which now is, I guess, I don't know who uses it
I
anymore.
want to say zoning police on the side.
Yeah.
All souped up, Mustang.
All right. Thank you very much.
Got out of
Okay,
touch to
thank
it.
All right. We're off there on and we're back.
Thank you.
All right, going on discussion here, ice retardant systems. I guess this is Sean.
Thank you, Mr. President. Let me see if, I don't know, Scott, you want to touch upon this as well. His response to some concerns we experienced, obviously, with the ice freezing situation in Bud Lake and the need for an ordinance. As council is probably aware, a lot of homeowners have bubblers by the piers, to keep the ice thinning away from raising the supports. Similar to other towns, I'd asked Mr. Pasek and Mr. Simrow's office to do some research into Lake Apacon and some other communities as to what their ordinances would say, were we to benchmark and adopt such an ordinance. In your packet, you see the response, and the general consensus that I received from Mr. Simrow's office is a ice retardant system, demanding that there be notice, signage put up, that the authoritative township official in charge of this would be the zoning officer, Mr. Van Ness, and as well as a system not more than 25 feet from the shoreline from the protected structure. And again, it's to take into the concerns of the homeowners and the pier owners, but as well, more importantly, as you heard today with Lieutenant Austenberg, to really keep the awareness of any weak ice out there on Bud Lake and hopefully avert another tragedy like we've had in recent times. So that's the discussion and the framework we have out there tonight. We would be looking for council comment on this and possibly introduce this ordinance in the next meeting. Scott, do you have anything to add on this, or?
Can we put a snow retardant system in place?
For the whole township?
Go.
So I'd be seeking any input from council before we went ahead and finalized the draft ordinance. Or we'll go as, as is.
I have no issues.
I think it's good.
Jeff, throw me and you'll coordinate, and then we'll look at it.
Sounds great.
Anything else on that? Clothing bins?
Clothing bins, I would ask Catherine Scott to come up and comment on this. The overall proposed policy we would have in seeking clothing bins, we kind of have a clothing bin pollution problem starting to creep up. So what administration is proposing, and I'll let Catherine and Scott speak more to this, is to kind of centralize our clothing bins at the Township Recycling Center and municipal controlled properties such as Bud Lake Fire, Bud Lake Rescue, and Flanders Fire and Rescue. So again, I had asked Mr. Semrau's office, and Jeff did a great job on doing some research on this matter in accord with Public Law 2009 chapter. And I'll let Scott and Catherine speak more to this.
The clothing bins are a property maintenance nightmare. They drop them wherever they want. Some of the bins have no identification on them. We have no way of contacting them. You know, the clothes pile up outside, and they're in, how many, 18?
Yeah, currently we have 18 bins that I was able to locate throughout the township. They're either in parking lots, right in the center of a parking lot, against a tree line, curb lines, in the front yard setbacks. They many times are polluted with other items that should not be there, junk household items and not clothing, or bags that are just piled on the outside of them. We actually had a few bins that were made out of wood or plywood with
Red lettering.
with painted in funky colors with lettering on them, handwritten letter. They were in front of Lowe's. They've been removed since, but there doesn't seem to be we don't have any teeth in our ordinances for us to specifically target clothing bins.
To regulate them in some manner. So we've asked, we've talked to Sean about it, and either, we would request that maybe the rear yard, the recycling center, be the designated area for clothing bins. And then that contains them in one way. The mayor has requested that if we do that, also that maybe nonprofit, the firehouse, fire departments and the EMS services be allowed to have them, which I think the Bud Lake Firehouse already has one. It would make life easier for us. I know there is legislation that was passed, and I'm not sure if we can regulate them to one area in the town. That's something the attorney would have to let us know about, but I did look up other townships. They regulate them, they charge them, they have, yearly license for them, and so I don't know how the governing body would like to proceed with this.
Alex?
Are most of these clothing bins put there for fundraising purposes? Because I'm pretty sure the Masonic Lodge and Bud Lake Fire Department are using them for.
It does appear that the writings on each of the bins indicate some type of fundraising activity.
Because I for one would not be in favor of requiring all clothing bins to be in one spot. I am definitely in favor of putting some teeth so that they comply with regulations and zoning permits, and definitely the ones that are just plopped in there on an empty lot. Because I'm pretty sure the one at Ken's Lodge is probably
just dropped.
Something just dropped in there. But and I also would not be opposed to preventing commercial entities from having a clothing bin. I can see it being more like a fundraising issue. I don't see, as an example, having the golf zone augment their income with a clothing bin. I don't think Walmart needs any help by putting a clothing bin in their lot.
I don't think these are actually, because the issue we had with Lowe's was somebody just came in and dropped it. So I don't think the stores are doing this. I think people are just coming in and dropping them where they want them. And then that becomes a property maintenance issue, like I said, for us.
Mayor, did you have something?
Disagree with Alex. I think the ordinance as drafted is appropriate in terms of locations and gives us the ability to make sure that the town is appropriately cared for. And I think that the inclusion of the Bud Lake Rescue, Flanders Fire, and Bud Lake Fire gives the opportunity to our first aid and fire departments to use it as a fundraising vehicle. And to the extent that there is a worthy cause out there, municipally owned properties are another way that a fundraising entity would be able to drop a box, and it would give us the ability to dictate location and also to make sure that the entities which are looking for the fundraisings are responsible entities in terms of the funds that they're trying to collect. Otherwise, we're going to have these boxes proliferate throughout the township even more than is currently happening.
Well,
Ms. LaBelle, I have a question for, I guess.
Did you want to?
You want to finish up on it?
well, I mean, if the purpose is to control the unregulated proliferation of these clothing bins, then I understand having them comply or even a permitting process by which you need to apply to get a clothing bin, but I disagree with just having them located in one place. So I mean, I would be more in favor of having regulation and a permitting process, and that way we can control who gets a clothing bin and where it's located versus forcing all these bins to be located in a central location.
Mayor, you were saying though that you're also talking about municipal properties, other properties possibly.
It depends. I mean, it would be at the option of the municipality, depending upon the availability of space, the aesthetics of how it would look. Ultimately, I don't know how you determine where to put boxes. You allow one at A&P, you allow one at the next to the subway, you allow one, I mean, even if you're permitting, you allow one at the Exxon gas station that's closed, you allow one at the mall at 206, you don't allow one at Walmart because there's one at Lowe's. I mean, once you start getting into where you're going to put them in terms of discretionary options, you're opening up Pandora's box. And that's why I think it's important to, from a maintenance perspective, a property maintenance perspective, to limit them to certain areas of the town. And I think that it's appropriate in the way that it's drafted that those areas be municipally controlled properties.
Color?
I agree. I think it's a good idea to have it regulated, and I'm thinking in terms of, like, when you start having like hot dog carts or something cropping up all over town, there's regulations involved on how far away from an established eatery or whatever, that type of thing. But my question is more for, I know many years ago, one of the Boy Scout troops at St. Jude's, they would have a clothing drive and they'd have the dumpsters out there. So how does something like that fit in where you might have a scouting troop that's running a specific fundraiser for X amount of period of times for clothes pickup? I don't know if it would conflict. Were you taking into consideration something like that?
You could just allow them to put it at the Bud Lake Rescue Squad building. They're going to advertise as to where they are. Most of these entities that we're talking about in terms of fundraising, we have no idea who they are, what their causes are, what they do with their money. We have no responsibility
that's
to
the
these
issue.
entities whatsoever.
Right.
We don't know if they're reputable. We don't know that the permitting process would identify the reputableness of a company.
You don't even know if it's a fundraiser. I'll tell you, you make a lot of money on those. Somebody could we could set up a box somewhere and people drop it off thinking it's going to a charitable organization, and you sell off to somebody else, you're making thousands of dollars on that.
Yeah.
It's a lot of money.
As far as the permitting process, the property owner would have to apply for a permit, and then you charge whatever is deemed to be an appropriate charge.
I'm sorry, I know that we had a contract with Millennium, and they had their clothing bins back here, and we were getting, Tim tells me, 10 cents a pound. So the township at least got some kind of benefit from having them
Right,
back
and if we charge a permit for, let's say you have 18, and let's assume there are $100 a permit, just to go out, that's $1,800 right there that we get, and as long as they comply with where they're supposed to be located, then you know, who are we? I mean, I understand the ones that are just being dropped in the middle of the Walmart, I completely understand, and I don't know why the owner of Walmart hasn't complained. That's a different story. Or at Ken's, but if the owner of Ken's Sheds decided to apply for a permit and he complied with the setbacks, who are we to prevent them from putting, a storage bin in?
Yeah, but it's not,
And what business is it of ours, honestly, if the money is going to whatever charity is listed? It's if the problem is we want to control the proliferation of the sheds, okay, then we, like anything else, you apply for a permit and it's the property owner that needs to apply for it. And if we see a shed and there's no permit for it, then we go enforce, by whatever mechanism we have.
So basically what you're saying, Alex, is that if every property owner in town wanted to put one of these clothing bins on their property, had the appropriate setbacks, and applied for the permit, that every single property in town could have this particular clothing bin on the property. That's not really...
And if it complied with all our land use zoning permits, then okay.
So every single property.
If it wanted and it was not in violation of any of our zoning laws.
What if I wanted to put one on my property?
You wouldn't be able to put it on your front lawn, because I'm assuming it would violate your front setbacks.
I don't know the answer to that question.
I would assume.
Well, that's where the problem lies, is it a structure or is it a movable, is it a bin? I mean, what is it that allows us to regulate this item?
We have regulations for sheds, I think, under.
It's not a shed, though.
it's not a shed.
That's the thing.
But we
can add it to our ordinance.
Why would you ever want to do that?
No, I wouldn't want to do it at all.
Why?
No.
Why would you want to have a proliferation of these boxes in town?
They just become such a property maintenance issue. They really do.
and
I know Ray had something,
Okay.
but Sean, Golly, Ray, did you have something?
Thank you, Mr. Vice President, appreciate that. Interestingly enough, the for-profits, which is really the folks that are putting most of these out. I mean, let's not kid ourselves. You can get a sticker that says Mount Olive, whatever, and put it on and drop these boxes. All of these are for-profit. Most of them are, a lot of them are being chewed up and used for insulation. They're being shipped off to other countries. They are for-profit. I have no problem, for the most part, seeing them. I think in the past year, Route 46 seems to have become a haven for these. I feel bad for the Hildebrands, father and husband being lost, but it wasn't a couple weeks after the funeral, and we had clothing bins that were sticking out there. Adams Bagels has had the one that's been tucked back in there behind the wall since that was a Perkins.
Yeah.
When I get rid of clothes, now that Bud Lake Fire has one out there where I know that, yes, they're going to get money from the company, I try to take my clothing there, But I think we need to have some regulation of where these things are going to be. And I'm all for free enterprise, don't get me wrong. I mean, I think as a capitalistic society, if there's a place that somebody can make $1 and you're going to get 10% of whatever's in there, I'm hard pressed to not have a business to be able to participate. But I empathize with our zoning department, because these things they're not only are they an eyesore and people leave things out in the wrong place, but they're just dropping these things wherever, willy-nilly. And I think we have to have some semblance of order with these. I don't know that I'm necessarily in favor of having one drop-off place, but I agree with the mayor. If you have it at the Flanders Fire, you have one at Bud Lake, you cover the sections of town, you have one back here at the recycling center, there's places for people to bring it. And, look, let's not kid each other, then why don't we just have people out there and let them collect electronic devices? And they don't have to bring them up here to our recycling center or pay $10 or $25 to have their television set picked up. Big money in all the electronic stuff that's still left inside the TV that gets shipped off to third world countries. You can have drop-off places and all that. I mean, you literally can start having these things just grow into something more. I'm on the fence with how I feel about the ordinance right now, but I can tell you that I can empathize, and, I mean, to me, Route 46 is becoming an eyesore. These
Yes.
things sticking all over the place. It starts right from the Delta gas station, and then you get off of Route 80 on the 46, and clean on up to the top of the mountain.
Yeah, my concern would be with a lot of them getting dropped off too. And, I mean, you know, Mr. Van Ness, as an officer, you'd probably agree with me, it becomes a sight distance, you know, a sight problem, people trying to pull in and out of the different parking lots where some of them are dropped off. And, you know, there has to be something to regulate where they're going and not cluttering everything, because some of them are tucked away nice and out of the way, and other ones are just, you're creeping up trying to see around it, you know, and
Again, if there's a permit process, we regulate as to where there can be located. You can't just go and dump it right by the curb. So if we set up a permit process where you pay $100, $200, whatever, you know, we find is reasonable, then there you go. And then the zoning officer can just verify that that one is properly permitted. We're charging them money, and that'll pay for the time it takes for him to do his job. And the business or the whatever entity, you know, collects revenue from it. It's within a certain area, and there'll probably be a priced out where somebody decides, hey, you know what, for $200, I'm not going to go through that process of an application to put it. I don't even know what the profit is. And with all due respect, if it was $1,000 a month, I'm pretty sure, you know, we find that out and make the permit.
yeah. I would have to.
Sean, did you have something, Sean, that you wanted to add?
I just
No,
said-
I think that the point was brought out under our planner, Chuck McGarty's response to Mr. Pasek. He had just expressed concern about, you know, if you do allow it to commercials, how do you go, you know, so choosing. You know, we may want to get Mr. McGarty's further opinion on this matter before moving forward.
I think actually that Mr. Pasek has to let us know if what we're doing is allowed under this legislation.
We preliminarily looked into it. We didn't see any legal prohibition against deciding where to put the bins.
Okay, all right, because I think Chuck's initial was that he thought that the town would not be allowed to say, okay, one designated place. That's why we were going to the township attorney to get his initial reading of it, was that it does not allow the municipality to pick and choose where such bins may be located. That's how he read it, and that's why I was referring to Mr. Pasek. It's up to the governing body and
I just have to say,
something
my
to
last
make our
comment.
life easier.
My last comment would be knowing Catherine and Scott's ability to be very thorough in identifying something that is an issue. I know it's not something that's frivolous, and it's something that I certainly will support in your recommendations and doing what you feel is appropriate to take care of this issue, because it's not something you would just come here and talk about if it was not something that needs to be addressed.
It's become a problem.
Yeah, you have a lot of other things to be going through, and obviously this is becoming a problem, as Mr. Perkins said. It is. It's like you can pick a whole bunch of places. I know with the TNR yard sale, we get a lot of clothes donations, and I do the same thing that Mr. Perkins does. When we're packing everything up, I load all those clothes in my car, and I bring them over to Bud Lake and put them into the bin, because I know the Bud Lake Fire Department's getting money for it, you know. I know it's going towards a certain specific things, but I think it's a good idea. Overall, good idea.
We sit up here, part of our responsibility is to improve the look of the town. We've worked diligently in terms of trying to take down some of the buildings which have become eyesores. We've identified those structures which have been deemed unsafe and have been successful so far at taking down one of the buildings. With respect to other buildings that have become eyesores, we've worked diligently in terms of enforcing the current property maintenance codes that we have. Why would we ever want to encourage, even for a permit fee, to encourage additional, what can only be described as a detriment to the way that Mount Olive is viewed? Why would we want to proliferate these types of collection bins throughout the township? It makes no sense whatsoever. Basically, you would not be able to deny anybody who could properly put one of these bins on their property the ability to do so. You could have hundreds of these bins throughout the course of the town. It makes no sense whatsoever when we're trying to go and working so diligently to go in the other direction, which is to spruce up Mount Olive, not to make it look more like the trash town. Lincoln Park. Sean Canning gave that to me, former business manager.
Any other discussion on this right now?
I just want to add, I agree that it is an issue. I just disagree with the making it a central location, and by having a permit process where we control where it would be placed, just like we can control where somebody can place their shed, and even where a business can put a dumpster. I believe that would be the way to go. And if it ends up being that it still doesn't resolve the problem, if we were to take this incremental position, then later on we can revisit and putting it into a central location. That's all I have.
Anything else on this right now?
Okay. Like I said, there's a couple of, I mean, the reports, USA Today, you know, has enough that's already been on there. Property owners in the village in Illinois complained about all the boxes that were being put out onto the different property. They passed an ordinance that prohibits them. You know, so it's not like they're not happening across the state. I mean, we got one company that has over 10,000 of these bins that it maintains in 17 states. And they are for profit, and it states so on their box. So, you know, it's a money-making enterprise. So
A tough economy. I'm sure there's
That's
more
it.
going out there than ever before.
I agree. I think we need to regulate it somehow, only because of the way that it begins to make your municipality look. If it begins to make it look like trash, then I think it's time for us to step in from a property maintenance
And
standpoint.
having it in the municipal building as well as other parts of town, whether it's our properties that we can allow some on, or the fire, I think it's fine, because you'd have enough around. But a lot of them are really bad looking and stuff. I mean, plus I never know where
And ask the church properties if they'd like it on it too, religious
Right, religious
organizations.
organization,
That's true.
if you're a non-profit building, that's different, right. So I guess we'll have to, yeah, Sean, well,
So clarifying direction to council, I will be bringing an ordinance outlining municipal property and the township to the February 25th meeting.
It sounded to me like there was a last issue in terms of religious
yeah, there could be
organizations.
non-profit organizations that are in town.
Start looking at the, like the nonprofits.
Might want to.
So if St. Jude does a fundraiser, they can put one there for whatever they, right, on their own property as a
Perhaps, you know
nonprofit?
what, Jeff and I will see if we can
Figure it out.
benchmark
See what comes out.
the baseline of an ordinance, and we'll see if there's something out there with the carve-out for, when we got an option A. This will be revisited in 2 weeks. Jeff, will
Okay.
go.
Sure, absolutely.
Thank you.
Don't want to ram it.
Thank you.
Old business, any old business? Thank you very much. Oh, I'm sorry, Mount Olive versus Cobblestone. Next. Is that,
You want me to start on that? You want to start on it?
what's that?
I can start on it, Jeff.
Oh, go ahead.
Yeah,
Yeah,
go on, start.
oh, you guys. yeah.
We had met then at Jeff's office a couple weeks ago. Tracy, Jeff, Fred Semrau, our engineer, Mr. Brzezinski, as well as Chuck McGarty, our planner, Catherine, and a couple of representatives from Louis Berger and Associates. And the issue with Cobblestone currently is we're still in our due diligence phase. There are 2 areas of concern which have to be addressed, and what we're looking for is council approval tonight to hire 2 professional associations, Louis Berger Group and Boswell Engineering. The scope of the work that is raising concern for us is, 1, underground storage tanks. There have to be test borings to find out the tanks that were in the ground, did they reach into there, do we have contaminated soil, what's the status of what's going on underneath the soil before we move forward on this. And 2, a hydrogeologic study. Eventually 2 wells are going to have to be drilled if we move forward with this, but we don't have to do 2 wells at this point. Currently there's a 6-inch well which is going to be insufficient for DEP approval for drinking water. What we would be hiring Boswell Engineering to do is to drop an 8-inch test well, find out flow of that well, as well as the safe standard drinking water. So the money for this comes out of the redevelopment funds, as we've been pursuing all along with the under the COA regulations. The anticipated price is about $87,000 between the hydrogeologic study as well as the underground storage tank. study, and that's, again, that's for test borings, to identify contaminants and also water capacity. Did I miss anything, Jeff, or that was?
I think you got everything. I think Louis Berger thought there could be as many as 4 underground storage tanks.
Yeah, we don't know what's there. Currently, we have to move forward with this at this stage under the code regulations. We're in the court. Has there been a stay for a couple of months to let us do the due diligence?
I believe so. Yeah, I think.
And so we have this window where we're reluctant to move forward until we know exactly what we're getting into.
Anything else? No. Okay, thank you.
Sherry just pointed out the resos are not on tonight, right, Jeff? They'll be on for the 25th, I believe, if council has, unless council feels contrary to this.
Thank you. Okay, resolutions. Resolution commemorating Debbie Potter is going to be removed tonight and moved to next meeting. No, any questions on the remaining resolutions? No.
I'm good.
Okay. Seeing that, any old business? Any new business?
Not here.
You got newbie.
Nothing. Oh, I'm sorry. Mr. Roman?
I just want to at least start the discussion on the trails and kind of start thinking ahead about possibly moving that out of the open space committee as far as they're doing the work to get the trails up and running, and make that part of the public works department, and see how the administration feels about either adding another laborer or something more into the budget item to take it on as on a township perspective.
Yeah, I think we're well along that already. I know Frank last year when he was in charge of PB&G, that was a big task that they had when we did have some downtime. Currently this winter we really don't have any. But last February, March, we did a couple methods of clearing those trails. One was the PB&G personnel, and I think during the summer you guys went out and widened the paths and cleared some stuff. I was also able last year to use a little bit of open space funding and hire a landscaper to. That's what cleared out the White Trail after all the blowdowns from Hurricane Sandy. So PB&G is already very active in this. That's one of our goals. We have internal operational goals for each of the departments. One of them this year is to finish up the Orange Trail. That's the Orange Trail along Myers Pond and going out to Schoolhouse Road, and that links with the White Trail. In addition, the Gibonot Trail up at the state of border, that's been hugely active from last year from the PB&G personnel. We see phase 2 going in there this year, and they're going to have a big role in that as well. So I agree with you. I think we're well along there, and I'd be open to, however you
And
prefer that.
do we feel that we have enough personnel in order to make that so, or we might have to hire a part-timer?
I have enough before we really get going with sports until about late April, May. Now don't forget, we also have Mount Playmore going on right now too, in addition to the snow removal. So between now and I'd say mid to late April, Frank, correct me if I'm wrong. Once we get going with the sports and into early summer, we're tied up. Come midsummer, there's some extra summer help where we can fit in some extra. We bring in some summer laborers for parks maintenance, but we could certainly carve out a half day a week or
Right,
something.
because my concern is not allowing the trails to get put on the back burner, because I understand we do have our normal priorities, but if the rest of the council is so inclined to maybe augment that department's budget, if the administration sees that is needed. But I just would not like to see, now that we're starting on this trail and it looks like we're making some progress, to see it either get stalled out or maybe put on the back burner. That's my only concern.
I'm sorry.
Ms. LeBeau?
Alex, you're saying you don't want the open space committee working on the trails because
Well,
they've worked on quite a bit.
They're volunteer. They don't, it's, the amount of time that they put it on their own hours at night when they can. So I see more of open spaces maybe being an advisory for the trail system instead of the ones that actually go out and do the work.
Well, I know that in the past that they have enlisted the help of other groups and other towns and organizations. They actually did a tremendous amount of the work
And
themselves.
I recognize that they
So-
did do a lot of work, and I'd like to see that be handed off, and then we.
Did you talk to them about it?
Yes.
And they are in favor of that?
They would like to see it move into that direction, to have it become now a township trail system, managed, maintained, and as such.
Just like Mr. Canning touched upon, it has become, over the last year, we have transitioned into that. We did ask the committee to go out and flag the areas, and we did work with Morris County to have the areas GPSed.
Did you, I'm sorry to interrupt, but on that, did we find the GPS? Because apparently they're saying that.
That was left in the open space bin by me personally.
Okay.
It was left in their mailbox.
They can't find
And that was at their request. They say it's not there. I'm the one who personally left it there.
Okay.
So me and Kathy spoke on that last week.
All right.
So, yeah, like I said, we've been working on it. We have purchased a piece of equipment to help clear the trails. We purchased that UTV. We were having a guy on a 2-week basis run the trails, and if there's any major issues, we go out and clear it. We've been in contact with the trail committee too, and they've let us know of any problem areas. The biggest trail area we had was the Orange Trail this year. We've been trying to go. I'm trying to get Timmy's guys in Public Works to come and help us. There's a large blowdown area that we're going to have to get some specialized equipment in there, but for pretty much most of the trails are open. We'll do a spring pruning to kick everything back, and then it's just maintenance and mowing, especially on the Greenway. The Greenway has a lot of grass in it, and we mow it. The big fields every month, and then we try to get the walking paths every 2 weeks.
Now, do you feel you have enough staff in order to?
Once we've been able to, through the utility, hire summer help. They specifically stay up towards Turkey Brook and on the ball fields because it's paid out of the utility, which frees up a guy or two to go ahead and run the trails. We're always looking for more manpower. Would be great. I've talked with Timmy. We've talked about if we are able to hire possibly someone who is more specialized in tree work area, because it has been an issue throughout the township. So it's something that we could look upon.
All right, thank you.
Thank you. Any other new business? Anyone from the public? Seeing none, do I have a motion to adjourn to the
So moved.
So moved.
second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Okay, we'll move to the public portion. Lisa, would you read the Open Public Meeting Act?
According to the Open Public Meetings Act, adequate notice of this meeting has been given to the Daily Record. Notice has been posted in the Municipal Building, 204 Flanders Drakes Town Road, Bud Lake, New Jersey, and notices were sent to those requesting the same.
Roll call, please.
Mr. Almeida?
Here.
Mr. Frente?
Here.
Mrs. Layvow?
Here.
Mr. Perkins?
Here.
Mr. Roman?
Here.
Mr. Mania? Mr. Castro?
Here. Please note, also in attendance is the mayor, Business Administrator Sean Canning, CFO Sherry Maniscalco, and Jeff Pasak, our town attorney. Okay, we're moving to the approval of minutes. Mr. Amianda, would you approve the minutes from January 28th workshop and public meeting?
Yes, I make a motion for approval of minutes of previous public and workshop meetings held on January 28, 2014.
Second.
Okay, roll call, please.
Mr. Almeida?
Yeah, yes.
Mr. Frente?
Yes.
Mrs. Laybow?
Yes.
Mr. Perkins?
Yes.
Mr. Roman?
Yes.
Mr. Nacastro?
Yes. Please note the police presentation of the civilian awards were moved to the public portion. I mean, the workshop portion. Okay, we have 22 pieces of correspondence. Any questions on those? Seeing none. We have no ordinances. And we have 8 resolutions, consent resolutions. Does anyone wish to move any to non-consent? Seeing none. Any discussion? Mr. Ferrante, would you move motions 1 through 8, resolutions?
I have
2 through 9?
2 through 9.
Oh, I'm
No,
sorry.
we removed number one
We
from the
removed
first
the one, I'm
Okay,
sorry.
so okay, got it.
Yeah.
So
Two
it's-
becomes one.
One becomes, right.
Okay.
Sure, I'd like to move consent resolutions 1 through 8.
Second.
Roll call, please.
Mr. Amianda?
Yes.
Mr. Ferrante?
Yes.
Mrs. Laybow?
Yes.
Mr. Perkins?
Yes.
Mr. Roman?
Yes.
Mr. Nacastro?
Yes. We consent motions. We have bill list. Mr. Ferrante, would you move the bill list, please?
Sure, I'd like to move the bill list.
Second.
Roll call, please.
Mr. Amianda?
Yes.
Mr. Ferrante?
Yes.
Mrs. Laybow?
Yes.
Mr. Perkins?
Yes.
Mr. Roman?
Yes.
Mr. Nacastro?
No to check, abstain from check number 64543, and yes to all others. Okay, on to administrative reports. Any old administrative reports? I'm sorry.
Thank you, Mr. President. Tim, you want to come up? I wanted to brief council on a couple of things. Earlier today, I sent a internal memo just outlining a couple of concerns which had arisen over the weekend, as well as with the winter storms. I'm trying to keep council in the loop every 2 weeks. Before Timmy gets going, as I'm sure as everybody's aware, Bud Lake ambulance caught fire over the weekend. Thankfully, nobody was hurt. Currently, that's submitted to the JIF. The good news is it's under warranty. It's a 2010 ambulance, so we very well may end up, better for this in the end. Believe it or not, we'll end up having to bid for a new ambulance once the insurance makes us whole. Our fire marshal had done an inspection on the vehicle today. There is a rather common cause with this 2010 type of vehicle that they were able to discover. It's into the JIF. I'd imagine it's going to be subrogation. It'll be on the JIF bill list, hopefully within 4 weeks, if not 8 weeks. As soon as we receive that check, we'll be able to get that in and start the bid process. I'd imagine Bud Lake Rescue will not be seeing a new ambulance for the better part of this year. It takes a while by the time you bid and award. However, the manufacturer has offered to provide us a replacement ambulance for the time being. So they're in operations right now. Colleen, I'll jump to you 1 second. Their second ambulance hit a deer. We had another fire truck hit a parked car. They're all operational. Just some of the dings of the weekend.
I understand that the ambulance is covered under warranty, but what about all the extras that we had to add, like the painting and the equipment inside, the oxygen bottles? How is that handled?
That'll be under contents part of the JIF policy. There is a limit to that. So right now, Bud Lake Rescue is trying to itemize all that. I can't promise that will be made 100% whole on that.
Okay.
Now there is some money left over from the ordinance, I believe. Yeah, about 10,000 from the original ambulance ordinance. We'd have to take a look at what the total cost would be, total losses, and see where we're at.
Thank you.
Sean, so the insurance might not cover all the contents that are in there, and if that being the case, is that something that maybe we should review our insurance policies and riders to see if we need to make some changes so that in the unlikely event that something like this happens in the future, that we are made 100% whole, it doesn't cost
Well,
much?
insurance never makes 100% whole. The whole theory of insurance is, they get you almost there, but they're never going to get you 100% whole. I will say, in reviewing the JIF riders, this came up at the library discussion, they're the best bargain in town for the amount of coverage we have. I'll take a look at the overall coverages. As to contents, like I said, we may be 100%, we may not be. I have to see the number the Bud Lake provides compared to what our rider has. I didn't have that conversation today with John Whitley from D&H Risk Management. And again, hopefully within 2 weeks I'll have that number for you. So that's Bud Lake Rescue. Real briefly, I'm going to let Tim and Frank talk to vehicles and the winter storm impact on our budget as well as our operations. We've certainly taken a hit. Personnel-wise, not just from the storms, but just workers' comp injuries. We're down about 8 people across the board right now, so that couldn't have come at a worse time, and certainly hampering our ability to respond currently. But if you want to speak to all the issues, all the above, including SALT, the lack
Yes,
thereof.
thank you, Mr. Key West. I'm going to cover the storm side of things. I'm going to talk about materials, fun facts on the storms that we've had, temperatures, manpower, and what we're doing out there. Frank's got the tougher part. He's going to talk to you about our equipment. We got some wonderful antiques out there, and he's going to give you a rundown on how they're holding out for us. But basically, it's been a busy year. Now, when I talk about our snow season, I'm talking from November until the present time. It's been busy since November. Usually we come into a January with a salt dome with at least 1,500 ton of material left in there.
We came in with nothing this year. November, December was very busy towards the end of December, and it pretty much wiped us out, bringing us into January with a temporary budget with not a whole lot of materials on hand. Winter didn't give up in December, just continued on through January. January was extremely busy. We've had since November about 21 storm events where we had to respond with some type of material, whether it's sanding or plowing or both. One of the biggest hampers to this operation through January was the temperature. Dealing with snow and ice conditions when you're down to 3 degrees or 2 degrees or even -1 becomes extremely difficult. Materials start to cease working when you get down around those temperatures. We do use additives because of the continual storms. We've been focusing more on running the salts. It's getting very expensive, and as you all know by watching the news, it's getting very difficult to have. And it is. I've got calls out to numerous places trying to get more materials in. We should be seeing some come in again tomorrow. So the storm coming at us, we should eke our way through it. Basically, wow, just from January until now, we've looked at about 36 inches of snow in the Bud Lake area. If you go from November to December, that's another 14 inches. So you're looking at a 50-inch snowfall rate from November until now, which we've been dealing with. This is specific to the Bud Lake area. You'll see a little less down Hackettstown. You'll see a little less down in the Flanders area. But that's a pretty good total of what we're dealing with. Also, we've been dealing with ice. The last ice storm, we had extreme low temperatures again. It wasn't so bad during the storm, but as soon as the storm pulled out, the bottom fell out. That's where we deal with the pack ice, and once it gets to that point, it's very difficult to break, and we've all seen it before. Materials, just November and December, we've gone through approximately 1,500 ton of material. Quite a bit of material. That's what we had on stock, and then additional funds that Sherry had to find for us to keep going through December. January, just incredible. I mean, we're looking at from January 1st until now that we've gone through about 2,400 tons of material, and that's tons, that's not pounds. I mean, it's a lot of material that we go through. Normal year, we're looking at 3,500. This season, we've surpassed that already, and obviously our monies are getting low. There is no signs of things changing in the near future. Obviously, you all seen the weather forecast for Thursday, and it continues on into next week. Temperatures are going to stay cold, and we're going to be continuing into this the storm systems that we've been seeing. You know, we're doing what we can. Each sanding, we use about 300 ton of material. That's to cover the entire town. Some sandings, we just have to focus on certain areas. Some sandings, we have to do the entire town. Big enough storm with cold enough temperatures, we have to sand prior to plowing so we can peel the materials off the road. When we're completed with the extremely cold temperatures we've been dealing with, we have to resand a second time. Some of these bigger storms are taking 600-700 tons of material just to make the roadway safe. And it's a lot of material. It's a lot of expense. Everybody in the state of New Jersey is going through what we're going through, trying to fight and wrestle and beg for materials, and we're managing to eke by each storm. So we're kind of holding our own, but it's getting difficult. The budget was set at $200,000. Hopefully a change in the weather pattern, and we can stick with that. There are no guarantees. One of the bigger issues we're dealing with is, as Sean said, without the manpower, with the long hours, it's taking longer to get through the routes. Every driver, every truck has a route, whether it's plowing or sanding. We go down a truck, we go down a driver, it's going to take us that much longer to cover the area. We go down 2 trucks, 2 drivers, you're adding more into it. It's increasing overtime, and it's decreasing our response time, which is vital. You fall behind in a snowstorm, give it up. You're never going to get caught up again. So it's extremely vital that we have the manpower. Got to have the equipment. Without that, we're dead in the water. We might as well just sit here and look out the window. And without material, we're done. So these are 3 vital things that we must have to make Mount Olive Road safe, and response has to be there. Frank's going to go into the equipment. Fleet Maintenance has done an outstanding job keeping this equipment going. We're losing trucks every storm, and they're managing to band-aid these old relics up to get them back on the road for us and to keep us rolling. So what he's going to talk about has no effect on what Fleet Maintenance is doing. I tip my hat to the fabulous job that they're doing to keep giving us trucks. I mean, I don't know how they're doing it, but they're doing it. Duct tape, yeah, and glue. A lot of bubble gum. Frank will go into the equipment. Any questions on materials, cost, snow, ice? Key West?
Key West.
Margaritas.
The only thing I would add is that we're going to evaluate where we are in terms of our budget for the year, and we may come back to council for an increase in terms of the budget for materials before we adopt the ultimate budget.
And what you got to remember when the mayor speaks of that, we still have November and December
just gonna
coming
say
at
that.
us. You know, I mean, once you get to March or April, it doesn't mean winter's over. We still got a good 2 months, but like 3 months, because we usually get hit in October for some more snow. And if you look at last November and December, we got whaled.
You have to recognize, though, that we've cut and cut and cut our budgets. What happens ultimately is if we don't have enough in the snow budget, it affects every other departmental budget. Because if we run really low, the spending freeze will be on earlier and earlier each year. It's not really fair to each of the departments that they're not able to get the things which they need. We're in a position this year to be able to fund what we actually need in snow removal without an increase to the taxpayers. We need to look at it carefully. Obviously, I would rather not spend the money that we put into the budget for snow. I would rather go to a spending freeze on other departments if warranted and just carry the money back into surplus if that's what we can do. But, you know, I think in this particular year, with the way that we've depleted the budget to date, prudence dictates that we take a hard and fast look in terms of adding additional money into the budget. We've obviously under budgeted based upon circumstances which we had no idea were going to occur. And we have the opportunity to fix it without causing problems to our entire budget during the course of the year.
Mr. Ferrante, did you have something?
Yeah, I mean, I was just going to piggyback on that part, but do we anticipate the, you know, the excess use of all of the salt and everything and to, I guess, further damage the roads that we're currently like, should we anticipate that in the budget as well?
You're talking about more road repairs after
Yeah.
the snow has left. A lot of that has to do with the temperature. I mean, snow, yes, absolutely, but with the cold winters that we've had right now and the continuous snowfall and ice, we're going to see a good crop of potholes this year. So we'll do what we can to get on top of them. Our paving program has come back over the past few years. We've taken out a lot of roads that took a lot of material. But we'll still be dealing with some issues. And as we move forward with paving, we're going to address those areas also. So hopefully, little by little, the roads that see the most damage or the most costs going into them will slowly be put to the side, and we'll see our repairs going down. Sean's got some good ideas going forward as to different approaches to take care of potholes, and we're excited about it, and we'll see where it goes. Again, it all needs funding. We can't do it with nothing. Frank's going to talk about the equipment. Pay attention to the age of this equipment. Some of our vehicles are 1993s. It's unheard of. I mean, they're just ancient. Vehicles are vital to all of our operations. Without them, we're dead in the water. So Frank will take it from here, and he's got quite the list.
How y'all doing? In 2007, we were salting and plowing. This is the larger trucks, the single axle trucks. We had 12 trucks on the road. As of this year, we're running 6 trucks. 2 of those trucks typically only sand, and they don't sand that great. And we have 4 that are basically good trucks, and those are our newer trucks. It's a 2013, which was purchased in 2012. It came in so late, so it's a 13 model. 2006, a 2007, and a 2004. Those are the newer model trucks that we have. We're also running a truck, is a 1993 International, 1997 International, another 1997 International, 99 GMC, and 2 1994 GMCs. So it's a pretty old fleet. Typically, it would take us with 12 trucks on the road about 4 hours to hit the whole township. Nowadays, it's taking us anywhere from 7 to 8 hours to get it done. So the time to get the job done is almost doubled. We would love to be able to see, and I know that Public Works has in the budget right now for currently one upgrade for $150,000 for a new single axle dump. I think it's vital that we move forward and push to get at least 2 trucks, for a total of $300,000. Those 2 trucks with the new technology and equipment in it, they have these new computers in it that actually can give us our road width miles how much material is in spread, and we can tone down so we're not overspreading and overcasting. So we're going to try to save material that way. The other older trucks, they're V-body sanders. They typically hold anywhere from 5 to 6 tons. If we can get away from that, go with the tailgate sanders or the forward throwing sanders underneath the front, rear wheels, we're looking at 9 to 10 ton. So just those 2 trucks alone, if we can get 2 that hold 10 ton, it's replacing basically almost three V-bodies. We'd like to have at least 3 to 4 trucks in an area if you break the township up into 4 areas. That way the response time is quick.
If I understand you correctly, and we discussed this, and I'm not sure that I understood it at the time, you're looking for 2 new trucks.
We're looking for 2
You
new
have
trucks.
1 that's in the budget.
Correct.
We can purchase 1 out of the sewer utility, which is flush, pay for it directly. That would get you the 2 new trucks. That would be what you're looking for.
Yeah, that will work. And water and sewer typically use road department trucks when they have a water main break too. So it's
That would be the suggestion. It's an outright buy rather than a funding.
I like that.
Won't change the budget at all. That's acceptable to everybody.
Yeah.
Yeah, it makes sense.
Absolutely.
Gonna buy one tomorrow?
Yeah.
And then moving forward, we're going to have to, really seriously talk about, replacing some of these older vehicles. Like Tim touched upon, Fleet has done a phenomenal job. We've gone around trying to, retrofit older trucks, with tailgate sanders and to get us through the storms.
I just had a question. You said the sander, the
V-body sanders.
the V-body sander, that's where it just comes out the back?
Yes.
And then you said the under the wheels, how does that work?
There's a forward, it's a specialty body, it's a Tenco. We purchased 2 of them. They're phenomenal for hills. They can go up and down anywhere, there's no slip. It throws it behind the cab of the truck, so the truck, it always has
So it keeps
traction.
it, instead of it hitting the back end and it's flying out all over, the truck body
It throws
kinda...
it directly underneath the truck. So the truck
And it
always
directs
has
it?
traction, like
Okay.
Nandy Goat Hill and Camp Morris Hill.
Right.
That truck, shouldn't have any issues with sliding on ice.
I just want to make
And
sure I
winding.
Based
understood
upon our
that.
residents, we're not sanding those roads anyway.
We're not sanding anything.
Yeah.
Mr. Roman?
Other than a performance issue as far as the newer vehicles offer more capacity and better salting, what are the physical problems with the older?
Heavy rust is a major issue. We're running into, with some of the older trucks too, hydraulic lines. The fittings, we go over them, but they blow hoses constantly. Some of these older trucks, the plows have just been taking a beating, and we've been able to Frankenstein plows to retrofit to other trucks. But heavy rust is the biggest thing.
Are you losing the trucks during the course of operation?
Yeah, we will, and Fleet's been in, and sometimes we'll lose a truck for an hour or 2. If we have to go to Westchester, because they're open 24 hours during the storm, to get a hose made, a specialty hose. We've been taking care of that. We've had issues with gas tanks rotting out. The guys have been diligently washing these vehicles after snow events. It's been tough lately because it's every other day we're out there salting.
I'm sure if any of the council members want to go out and check out the equipment like
Yeah,
that.
everything is on iWorks too. I know Joe has it documented with pictures, the years of the vehicles, the mileage. But moving forward, we're really gonna have to think about starting to get the fleet up to where it needs to be in order to provide a better service to the.
Do you have
to
a
the
plan in
residents.
place?
Yes, right now, I know currently we're trying to get a truck a year, but right now we've taken such a hit that that's why we're pushing for 2 this year, and then moving forward, looking to get a truck every year for probably the next 5 years. I think you have in capital.
Yeah, we're looking to get the fleet no older than 10 years old per vehicle. Basically, municipal use for a truck of that type is 10 years, and you try to roll it over and replace it. You try to so you can get a good trade-in value or a resale value on the equipment before it has turned into what we have in the back. We're getting repairs. They're mild repairs at the beginning of the season. As the season rolls, these older trucks, the repairs are getting larger and larger. We've got one down with a blown transmission. Some of these are still manual. We're having clutch issues. We're having brake issues, undercarriages. As Frank said, the rust issues with these trucks are tremendous. And it's not just the bodies. It's the undercarriage. It's the mechanics of the truck that are failing on us. I do encourage you to come back and look at our fleet. You would be surprised as to what you see if you walk through our garage with everything in there. It's really, it's an eye-opener, and we really need to address this.
We had 6 trucks down this week.
I've seen them up close. It's not ugly. I mean, it's not pretty. It's not pretty.
Ms. LeBeau?
I just have a question for the Mayor and Mr. Kenning, Sherry. Now, you're saying if you could do one pay outright in the sewer utility, and obviously 3 would be better than 2. How does it affect if we do 3 instead of 2? If we do the 2 on capital as they wanted and the 1 out of...
The bottom line is that you can purchase whatever equipment you want to purchase. It's not, if you do it by way of capital, it doesn't affect this year's budget. What it does affect ultimately is the debt obligation of the township going forward. And as you know, each purchase incrementally changes our number. We work so diligently. Now, if 3 trucks were asked for by DPW this year, I think that we would need to consider that because of what's happened to our fleet. And I'm sure if you go back to them now and say, do you think 3 trucks is better than 2, they're going to tell you
They'll say
absolutely.
absolutely.
But I can tell you that the health department has told us that they need a bus for the last 5 years, and we haven't purchased it. We're in a position now where we're not buying any more fire trucks after this year for 10 years. So I've been told by the fire departments. I was in a position that I was told by the ambulance corps that they weren't going to need another bus for 10 years as well. Obviously, absent what happened, they wouldn't, and that's going to be a wash or near a wash anyway. So I think we are in a position going forward next year for them to come with a plan to bring our fleet up to, over a number of years, up to where we need to be. This is not the year. I think that we've addressed their concern by adding the additional truck in. I'm sure that they'd love to have 4 new trucks this year. But also you have to look at phasing in the equipment, because if you bring it all in 1 year, you lose it that much quicker.
That's what I was just going to say. So if you do 3, then, so 2 and phasing it in, trying to get to the 10-year mark is a better plan, because we have to consider 10 years from now, you got to replace those 2.
Rotating stock.
You'll be living in Florida by that point.
Colleen, we're looking to replace the 1993 International and the 1994 International. So that's a wash, and that leaves us with, then the next oldest is 2 1997s.
I'm also looking at what I believe to be, and it's just anecdotal, it's not information-based, is bringing in a brine system into Mount Olive. I know other towns use it. They swear by it. Tim, obviously, I've spoken to him, is not favorable on the brine system.
I was doing research. I was doing research on that, and with the brine system, it's all, and Tim can correct me if I'm wrong on this, it's all in how you mix it, and there is equipment out there that's about, is it 8,000, 10,000, something like that, to properly mix.
Look, bottom line is we're going to study the issue.
Yeah, I know.
I don't think
Well,
it's
as soon
an
as you mentioned,
incredible-
I was doing research, trying to figure out where we go with that. I'm thinking, okay, it's a good idea, but then you need to expend X amount of funds so that you're doing the mix properly. Because if you're not doing it properly, you might as well just kiss it gogoodbye.
Yeah,
Don't bother.
you can make your own, you can purchase
We're
it.
going to
It's-
hire just one guy who's going to mix the brine.
He's gonna have a still out back.
Yeah, Sean's going to do research on that. Over the years, I've tried different chemicals. I've tried the brine, I've tried the calciums. We do using an ice begone material, which is a thick product that we like a lot. But everything needs to be looked at carefully to make sure that we've got the right product for the township.
Interestingly, though, Sean at a seminar ran into the DPW director in Mendham Township, who has offered to give us a demonstration prior to a storm, and hopefully is going to come in, maybe.
First thing in the morning, I'm calling Mendham.
Maybe tomorrow, and do a portion of the town. I'm thinking Outlook Park, which
brine?
didn't, what's that?
With the brine.
Yeah.
Pre-treating.
Let's see how the town, that area of the town does.
Can you
It's
do it
kinda
on my
like-
street? I've been stuck on my street 3 times.
Well, I'm going to see what other kind of sanders they have and see if they can give us a demo with them too. And
During the storm would be good.
Yeah, exactly. Let's see what we can get covered.
Yeah, that's what you should do. All the trucks you want to buy, have demos come out strategically planned.
Mendham's got a nice
It's
fleet.
amazing how Tim is going to be working for Mendham Township.
And Mendham, isn't Mendham one of the ones that actually has the equipment to mix the brine?
They have anything they want.
Yeah, because when I was doing the research, there's a couple of local towns that actually do it, and I was thinking, Boy, if we go that, we should really do a field trip and figure out, but I like it better that they're coming here.
Yeah, Randolph makes their own, Jefferson makes their
Yep,
own.
Randolph.
Washington Township uses some to a limited basis. They've done it in town for us before. Purchase it pre-made. It's cheaper if you make it yourself, obviously.
Yeah.
So there are towns that like it. There are towns that use different things. We're going to go over the whole thing. Whatever looks to be the best for the township is the way we're going. With the brine, it's going to entail a spray truck. But pretty much with any chemical we want to use, we would need one of those. So we'll see where it goes.
You can retrofit a pickup truck that we already have.
It was really interesting reading about it and all the different techniques and which works better and so on and so forth.
Mhm.
But definitely having the equipment to do it properly is, across the board from what I read, is the way to go.
Yeah, we
Even
can
though
convert
it's-
the sweeper we got for $5 from the county into a spray truck.
Let me just read you something off of the Daily Record website. Some municipalities are warning their residents that their supplies of salt are limited and only major roads will be treated. Randolph sent an alert to its residents saying salt supplies are very low, avoid travel.
Yeah.
Let me tell all of you sitting up here, salt supplies are very low. Avoid travel. That's why I closed the building on Thursday, because it's not gonna be pretty out there.
Anything else? Mr. Perkins?
Here we go.
Go ahead.
I knew we got, it takes time. I don't want you guys to have to stay here too long.
That's all right.
No, that's right.
We're
You
used to
can
it.
get most of the stuff back to me.
We're just not gonna go home with it.
Just a couple things. You know, I guess one of the benefits of sitting up here long enough is we keep going over fleet, and we keep going over salt, and we keep going over road repair. Out of 5-year, and I know you have a 5-year plan, we've talked about replacing the fleet. I endorse the mayor's enthusiasm with outright purchase of another truck. You need to replace these. I have a vested interest in someone who drives one of the vehicles. I've watched enough of the people that I've known here for 28 years who have driven vehicles, and I use that word vehicle with haste, because some of these things, in my personal opinion, were very unsafe. Radar's old red truck comes to mind with how many times you could put your foot through the floorboard. I don't think that's a safe way for a municipality, especially a municipality that's as renowned, as well-known as Mount Olive Township. I applaud you guys for taking care of the vehicles. You got people out. If we get you the extra vehicles, are you gonna have the manpower to fill the vehicle?
Yes, we do.
All right.
Because as far as, we have CDL drivers in water and sewer that we utilize for sanding and plowing operations. We do utilize gentlemen on, or not gentlemen, guys on sanitation that are CDL for sanding operations. So we pull from everywhere to fill the trucks. Right now, currently, Roads Department has 8 guys. So, you know, they're filling the trucks right now. Like I said, we'd like to get back up to that standard to have 12 trucks on the road, but we do have fillers, and we would like to see over the next couple of years also, you know, bring in some more personnel for the road department.
Well, in my next 3 years here, I would like to see a good majority of the fleet, and I mean the entire fleet, which includes the health department bus and some of these things. Let's get rid of some of this old stuff that continuously breaks, that you can't even find most of the time parts for them.
yeah.
So they're making parts, you know, to try to make the equipment fit. Not the right way to do things, because inevitably it's just gonna break down again. So I'm all in favor of whatever methodology that the administration and the mayor can come up with to fund. But again, we need to look, and for you guys, you've all been in the township, and, you know, we're all old enough. There's no magic crystal ball when I sit here and approve a budget and say, well, how much am I gonna put in for storm control? Because I can look at Timmy's face, and I know I've seen him over the years. He said, you know, we've had a great year, we got all this excess left over. What do we do for next year? We've all sat there and said, well, we don't want to take too much out of surplus, and, you know, well, let's hold this, and we don't need to put so much in for storm control, and don't you know that comes up and bites you right in the rear end, because that's the bad year. And last year was not such a bad year. It wasn't a great year, but it wasn't as bad. Now we are in almost like the floods I had at my house. We're almost in the 100-year storm range here.
Yeah, last year went fine until November and December.
Exactly.
And once we got into the end of the year, or the beginning of this season, we got hammered.
But we were, at that point, we were able to make emergency budget
Yes.
transfers, you know, to be able to get your money back into it.
Oh, you did?
Yep, and now,
Yes.
but now, as we're facing, I mean, here we are sitting here trying to approve a budget. We're in the middle of February, and we know we've got 2 storms at least this week, and we haven't even reached Valentine's Day yet.
Right.
Sean sent out the paperwork.
Mr. Cannon?
Yeah, thank you, Mr. President. I just wanted to clarify something on the staffing. We currently do have a staffing plan, especially in light of the one-armed bandits, and we feel where we're at is adequate. Right now, we're experiencing a workers' comp issue, and that will be resolved in the short term. We feel where we're at is sufficient. Unfortunately, we have the perfect storm, no pun intended, between the snow and the workers' comp, but we don't view this as a permanent thing.
Anyone else? No.
Well, just what Sean sent out earlier today, 2012 was a warmer winter, so our budget was much lower
Yeah,
than
2012 was a
2013.
quiet year.
Yeah,
I mean,
very
you'll see
quiet.
that every once in a while, but last year and this year, you know, you're gonna make up for it over time.
Right, we're almost double.
Yeah, and you
from-
can't predict what you're going to
No,
get.
you can't.
It was Al Gore's best year.
Yep, yep. I want to know, as far as, I know the Board of Education, they have some of their own trucks and their staff, do they come over and help out?
They
or-
cover the schools. They don't
Just-
have a
that's
lot
it?
of trucks. They're mostly smaller trucks. They do have 2 single axles, but they're pretty much covering the schools. And we're covering the roads. When they have breakdowns and they need our assistance, we'll jump in and give them a hand.
They don't help us, we help
They
them.
don't-
Yeah.
Okay, that's what I was gonna ask, if they
Yes.
had manpower that they could send over with any CDL,
No, we send over help when they need it.
just a thought.
Anything else?
I have
Thank
several-
you.
I have several
Oh,
other administrative.
On the administrative, thank you.
You done?
Thank you.
Thank you
guys.
very much.
Real quick, February 22nd is Cabin Fever Reliever. And if you've never been to it, you should go. It's packed. Also, Weiss Market's delayed opening until beginning of March. That's all I have.
What time are they gonna
Thank you.
open? Do they know?
Rob, Mayor, February what for the cabin fever?
20,
Cabin
22nd.
Fever Reliever is February 22.
where is
And then
that?
where is it at?
It's at the Senior
Senior
Center.
Senior Center?
I walked in, it is packed.
10 to,
Wall to
2.
wall kids.
10 in the, is that what it is?
10 in the morning.
Yeah, I'll let them, I'll tell you in
I
a
don't know,
minute.
you can contact Recreation to get the exact time.
I'll give it to you in a
Okay.
second.
All right, thank you. Any old business? Seeing none, any new business? Seeing none, any legal matters?
Just 1 a.m. tonight. As council's aware, our office defends the township in property tax appeals. When doing so, we've been using an expert appraiser by the name of Barry Krauser. He's recently provided our office with a detailed report regarding the work he's done for the township over the last couple of years. His help has essentially resulted in numerous withdrawals of complaints and no significant reductions in assessments. A lot of towns have been struggling lately with significant tax appeal reductions, and with his guidance, we've avoided this. At this time, we just wanted to recognize Mr. Krauser's efforts and alert the council to that.
Thank you. Council reports. Let's see, Mr. Amianda, Board of Education, anything to report?
No school board reports.
No school.
No school, there you go, you can- that's right. Mr. Ferrante, Environmental, Lake and Library.
Nothing.
Is the library open?
The library is open.
Okay, good.
Ms. LeBeau, Senior Economic and TNR.
Economic Committee, when do we meet, next week?
I think so.
Yeah,
right?
next week we're meeting, and
Yeah, next
nothing on
week.
the other two.
Okay, Mr. Perkins, Safety and MOTV.
Still nothing on the Safety Committee, Mr. Vice President. Ms. Pignataro and I have been getting together with the Mount Olive Television Committee. We're going to get a meeting set up for next month. The latest disc was delivered, so I'm happy to say that the last council meeting is actually what's on the TV. I took the weekend and just arbitrarily at different times tuned into Cablevision Channel 21, which I had. I'm happy to say that I didn't see Parsippany or anybody else on there, which made me happy. Once we have the committee actually meet up, then the goal then will be to hook up with either Gary Shore or somebody from Cablevision, and let's try to find out exactly what blocks, if it just started out as Mount Olive's television, if it's kind of morphed into something slightly different, that may not be a bad thing, but maybe there's some sort of a block that could be specifically set up for Mount Olive. But I think before that, then we'll have to talk about the franchise that we got the money from, and if there's any extra incentive to Mount Olive to be able to do that. So wait until March, Mr. Vice President, and then we'll have our meeting.
Thank you. Mr. Roman, Open Space and Recreation.
Nothing to report on recreation. On open space, meeting was held last night. Of note to discuss that property, the HMUA property, the one with the two reservoirs. That deal fell through. Apparently, the buyer had no idea there was a dam there that he had to take care of. It was a single, he was gonna put a house there and then realized that, it cost a lot of money to take a dam down.
Maintain the dam and.
Apparently, he did not do his due diligence. And to follow up on top of that, Kathy Murphy is going to be formulating a letter to send for our approval to send to Congressman Lance to see if there's any federal grants out there in order to remove the dam. And that is it.
Okay, I have nothing to report. Next week is the Board of Health meeting. Nothing on legislative, and Mr. Maney is not here. Anyone from the public? Seeing none. Council comments? Anyone? Mr. Amianda? No council comments. Do we have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? No.
Call you?
Anything incriminating, they can't pursue it.
Used to be nicer. I ran out of patience.
I know.